From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Greetings, Dick Stark here. You've all had a chance to see and drive the Buick against competition. The results are pretty impressive, aren't they? Now, for the most part, the differences that you saw are external things, things which you can touch and feel and see and even hear. And these are the things which are important to your prospects. These are the things your prospects are looking for. But there's something else that you can show your prospects, something that's hard to see and therefore all too often overlooked. And that's exactly what we're going to show you in this film today, those hard-to-see sales features which can best be illustrated only on the proving grounds. Now, don't worry, we're not going to show you another racing film. All cars today are hot performers, far beyond most driving needs. We don't really think that races prove anything. Actually, today's car prospect has lost interest in horsepower as such. They want performance, you bet they do, but they want it where it really counts. This is what they want. They want long-lived dependability and safety. They want and expect a good ride, a smooth transmission. They want effective brakes. And when you stop to think about it, these are exactly the points that Buick has pioneered and developed through the years. The famous Buick exclusives, today better, more saleable than ever before. So we figured that we'd sort of compare these famous Buick exclusives in the areas where they really count to point up what a saleable automobile we have this year. Now, as soon as the new cars were out, the competitive cars, we took them to the GM proving grounds at Milford, Michigan. We had them tuned up according to manufacturer's specifications, and we put a professional driver behind each wheel. And we said to that driver, we want to compare Buick's features point by point against competition. We want a fair test with no holds barred. First of all, of course, we want to test a great Buick exclusive Dynaflow. This year we have two great Dynaflows. We want to test them both against the best that competition has to offer. Of course, the Dynaflow story must be told alongside another great Buick exclusive, B12,000 Power. So what do you say? Let's go to the proving grounds and see how this great Buick exclusive team compares, and let the chips fall where they may. Our first test pitted a special with variable pitch Dynaflow against the Ford Fairlane and this year's improved Plymouth Belvedere. The Ford is equipped with Ford-O-Matic, the Plymouth with Torque Flight, their deluxe transmission. The object, to find out about all-important passing power. Nearly all of today's cars are powered for high initial getaway, but it's in the passing range that extra power really counts for today's safety-minded prospect. So we started up three cars and ran them side by side at 30 miles an hour. At the signal, all three drivers will floorboard it, calling on every performance muscle the car can muster. They're off. There goes the special, ahead of the pack. Proof positive of the superiority of variable pitch Dynaflow combined with the B12,000 engine. Now let's try the same passing power test with the lower middle price group. We've matched a Buick Special equipped with flight pitch Dynaflow against Dodge Coronet, Mercury Monterey, and the Edsel Ranger. All set? Let's roll them up to 30. Now, let her go. Here again, the Special surges ahead. That is superiority where it counts. Now, to put the frosting on the Dynaflow cake, we decided to try one more passing power test, this time under the rugged conditions of the 7% hill at the proving ground. Once again, we rolled them up to 30. The Special with variable pitch Dynaflow, Plymouth, and Ford. At the signal, all three kicked them all the way to the kitchen, and off they go. Who's in front? See for yourselves. Buick, of course. Now let's try it with the lower middle-priced group and flight pitch Dynaflow. Once again, they all reached 30 side by side, and off they go. Once again, Buick pulls ahead. Now, since we were on the 7% hill, we decided to test another exclusive feature of flight pitch Dynaflow, the grade retarder. The cars start down together, reaching a speed of 40. At the signal, each car switches to its transmission grade retard position without applying brakes. Well, it's obvious who has the most effective retarding mechanism. Buick, another plus for Dynaflow. And the test is just as effective against Ford and Plymouth. All right, Dynaflow B12,000 power, two Buick exclusives that you've heard a lot about lately. Well, now you've seen them in action. Take my word for it, these are two red-hot sales items. Let your prospects know about them, and let them know about the other Buick exclusives that you're going to see right now on film in action from the GM Proving Ground. For instance, torque tube drive. Now, there's a Buick exclusive that you've known about for many years. You've known how it gives Buick a far better ride, greater roadability, superior handling. Well, coupled with torque tube drive, another great Buick exclusive, all-around coil springing. However, this year we can rather smugly say that coil springs are no longer an exclusive. Many of our competitors have adopted them in an effort to move toward air ride, but they can never catch up with Buick's years of coil spring experience that pays off for Buick owners and for you. Now, actually, it's rather hard to illustrate torque tube drive and all-around coil springing as a Buick exclusive. It's something that you have to feel to appreciate. Well, you've had a chance to drive Buick against the competition. You've had a chance to experience that ride. You know what a superior ride Buick offers. Nevertheless, we're going back to the GM Proving Ground for some more driving tests to help prove that point. We took the Buick out on a gravel road and opened her up to 50, the average speed for this particular test route. Buick hugged the road, felt secure and safe all the way, even when cornering around moderately severe curves. Now we move back over to the straightaway to give Buick stability, roll, and roadability another test. Note Buick's uniformly gradual roll with no side sway, giving the driver and passengers a sense of solid security. Buick's roll characteristic lets you know when you push too hard before you get into trouble. Not so with some of our competition. All right, there you have the story on torque tube drive, all-round coil springing. Another great Buick exclusive team that puts real meaning into the term miracle ride. So when you have your prospects out for a demonstration ride, explain to them why Buick feels as solid, as secure, as safe as it does. Talk up torque tube drive, all-round coil springing. Now then, that brings us to another great sales feature for this year, Buick's improved brakes. The big new brake story for 1958 is in Buick's aluminum-finned brake drum, standard on all series except the Special. As one automotive expert put it, at last someone has found a good use for fins. Seriously, though, the aluminum drums are a great sales feature on the higher series, but you also have an equally effective story to tell when it comes to the Special. You see, on the 1958 Special, we're using the same large-sized drums that were used last year on the Roadmaster, a full 12-inch brake drum, 12 inches in diameter. And believe me, these brakes really do a job. Let's go back out to the GM Proving Ground, and I'll show you what we mean. Our first test compared brake dive. First, Ford, traveling at 30. There's the Ford dive. No better than ever this year. Edsel, too. It couldn't shake this poor Ford characteristic. Too bad for a car in its price class. Dodge came off pretty well. Now, Buick. Only a slight dip, engineered in to give Buick passengers the impression of a level stop. Then we compared fade. You can see the cars in the background accelerating to 60 and stopping sharply. We told each driver to stop 5 times. Then we wanted to see how effective the brakes were. Here comes the special, accelerating up to 60 for the 6th time. Buick stopped short. The brakes still effective. Now let's see how competition compares. First, Plymouth. Stops, but hooks badly. Now Dodge. Also hard to control after a few stops. Ford. How about that? Right out of the picture. Let's try Mercury. And now Edsel. Now let's try Buick again for a 7th time around. In fact, tests showed Buick could make 12 stops just as effectively. Buick brakes for 58. There's real sales ammunition in that story. And there's big sales ammunition in another Buick exclusive, too. One that you don't hear very much about, but that is mighty important to your customers. And I refer, of course, to Buick acoustics. Now, the chances are that you noticed how some of the competition seemed unusually noisy when compared with Buick. All right, there's real reason for Buick's superiority in the sound department. It's because we are the only car manufacturer with an entire department whose sole responsibility is to keep noise out of the passenger compartment. Other car manufacturers don't bother about it. Buick feels it's important. Well, you've seen how Buick's exclusives stack up against the competition in those areas that really count with today's prospects. Dynaflow combined with B12,000 power for instant, silky smooth performance that competition just can't match. And for that all-important passing power, torque tube drive and all-around coil springing to give you that safe, solid, secure drive that far exceeds anything competition can muster. Improved brakes. Last year's large-size Roadmaster brake drums in the special. Aluminum finned brake drums in all the other series. A brake story that can't be beat. And Buick acoustics. Sound deadening throughout the 58 Buick to give you a luxurious quietness that far exceeds anything competition can offer. Not bad, eh? Well, my friends, these exclusives can make real hay for you this year when you add this information to the information you already have and put it to work for you. But that means putting it to work when you're selling. Let's move over here and I'll show you what I mean. And here she is, the 58 Buick. That's a real honey, isn't it? You know the thing that impresses me most about the 58 Buick? Its looks. To me, this is the best-looking Buick ever built, and just about everybody I know is saying the same thing. Now, that sort of gives you a clue, doesn't it, that people all over the country are saying nice things about the 58 Buick. Take this Face of Fashion Dynastar grille, for example. That's a real eye-catcher, isn't it? You know, speaking of fashion, my wife, Jane, who happens to be rather intimately connected with the business, tells me that she has a friend who has sold her husband on buying a Buick simply because she likes the Dynastar grille. Oh, it's rather wonderful. You never can tell what causes someone to buy. I'll bet you that there are thousands of people just itching to own a Buick simply because they like the Dynastar grille. Well, it may be something else, you know. Something that to you and to me would be only a detail. However, never forget that attention to detail brings in the sale. Now, personally, the thing that impresses me about the grille is the fact that it's so rugged, it's really built. I wonder how many people know that the Dynastar grille is die-cast. Now compare that to the other cars today that are using cheap, flimsy stampings. There is no comparison. Another important point about the grille, it's functional as well as aesthetically good. Look at all that airspace. More airspace, more air gets in. More air gets in, cooler running engine. Nice point. Ah, it's a great car. It's got the looks that people want today, this 58 Buick. And those looks are not just skin deep. It's built-in quality. This is a car that gives you the impression that somewhere somebody cares. Somebody's trying to give the Buick buyer a whole lot more for his money. You know how you can tell that? Through the attention to details in the entire car. The way the chrome fits around those headlamps, down the side of the car, the way the sheet metal fits together, the way the door fits. And what's more, you can hear Buick quality as well as see it. Love that sound. To me, it's always said Buick. Mean that to you? I hope it does. You know, you've opened and closed the doors in the competitive cars, haven't you? You bet you have. You don't get that feel of quality. You don't get that kind of a sound. You get tinny. Not this. That's terrific. And it's mighty important, too, because it stands for something. It stands for the superiority of the Buick body, the high standard of craftsmanship throughout the entire car. Right? I'll give you another example. The window glass. Now, you know that the law requires safety plate glass in the windshield only. And that's just about the only place other cars put it. Not so with Buick. Buick gives you safety plate glass all around, windshield, side windows, rear windows, everywhere. To me, this is a most important feature. It means less distortion, less fatigue, less eye strain for me and the entire family when they're out riding with me. Nice point. I'll tell you one place you never want distortion, and that is in the windshield, right? Well, I don't know how they did it, but Buick has somehow engineered out that distortion. There's nary a wave nor a wiggle. And those of you who have sat behind the windshields in the competitive cars, what do I have to say? Here's something I wish you'd point out to your prospects. The Buick windshield wipers. This little track right here, that is the key to the whole operation. That track causes that windshield wiper to come all the way around the corner and wipe it clean. And how important that can be. If you've ever driven a competitive car in the rain, you know how important a Buick windshield wiper can be. All right, there are lots more mighty important features in the rear, so if you will come with me, we'll point them out. Now, we particularly like this rear end treatment. It's mighty good looking, isn't it? And that's something that a lot of the competitive car owners will be taking a good long look at as the 58 Buicks cruise on by. Another thing we're proud of is the tail light arrangement. After all, they are big enough to be seen, but they don't wander all over. What's more, they are at the side, where they belong. Here's another sales feature that you'll be mighty happy about, the center-positioned gas filler. You know, some of these other cars are actually making gas station attendants play a guessing game just trying to find the filler. Another point I'd like to make. Just proves to you that we at Buick are really thinking of details. The exhaust ports are underneath the car. Now, I'm sure you agree with me. Nothing gripes me as much as having a rear bumper all fouled up with exhaust fumes. That can't happen on the 58 Buick. Show you this trunk. See how easily that opens? Counterbalanced. Incidentally, one of the first things that my wife mentioned when we got our 58. How about the size of that trunk? There's plenty of room in there. There's room in there for all the luggage in my family, I know, and then some. Here's another point. We've designed this trunk with the lip right down to the rear bumper. Now, that means you don't have to lift your luggage up in the air to get it inside, and believe me, that can be important, unless, of course, you feel you need the exercise. Take a look at the spare tire. Out of the way, convenient, easy to get at without disturbing the luggage. Nice points, every one of them. Now, here are some of the other things I'd like to point out. They are reasons why I have made mine Buick. Most people measure a car from the driver's seat. I know I do. And from ceiling to floor, Buick is tops. Take the floor carpet, for example. I like the rich, luxurious feel of a carpet in my home and in my car. So will your prospects. And take a look at the hardware. This vent pane, crank-operated, easily operated. What a difference from those tiny, hard-to-open knuckle busters. Believe you me, the door and window handles feel and act like quality. And of course, these Buick interiors are the greatest. What a contrast to run your hands over this fabric after trying competition. These soft, deep cushioned seats are another reason your prospect will go for this '58 Buick in a big way. I use my car to take my family on vacations. Now, I know that I can drive all day long in a Buick without getting tired, but I'm afraid we can't say the same thing for those hard, thin, low-down seats that some of the other cars offer. I don't know why it is, but the competition seems to have an idea that 4 is a crowd. Well, that's not so with the Buick. There's plenty of room for 3 people, front and back. Crowding? Not for me. I want room for the whole family. And what's more, so does your prospect. You know something else? When he wants to wear a hat, he wants to wear it on his head. Now then, here's something else that's important to the driver. The instrument panel. Look how simple and clear it is. Any prospect will really like things like the red liner speedometer, the safety buzzer, save him traffic tickets, won't it? And the trip mileage recorder. And then there's this Dynaflow control. You agree with me, I'm sure. I like having it right at my fingertips. These hunt and peck push-button systems, they just confuse people. There are other features on the instrument panel that I think are worthwhile. The glove compartment where the driver can reach it, and it's big enough. And this open door with places to hold cups at drive-ins. It's a good idea, isn't it? Another Buick Plus, perimeter heating. Cuts off the cold drafts around the edges of the car, and with the new radiant heater under the seat, in a Buick, everyone's warm. And Buick has a simple one-knob control. You can mix heat with defrost to warm the windshield and you on cold mornings. Add all these interior details together, and you've got a great sales story. Love that sound. Now, there are some details up front that impress me. I'd like to show you how easily this hood latch operates. Actually, there are 2 hood latches for safety, but you just watch this. See that? Nothing to it. Now then, if you happen to come across a technically minded prospect, he'll be interested in this complete radiator fan shroud. This increases the efficiency of the fan. That means the cooling is more effective. And of course, you'll take a look at the B12,000 engine. One look at that, and you just can't wait to get out on the road and try the Buick for power. Is that right? All right, that's that part of the story. Now then, these are all details that we've been talking about, details which individually might well catch the fancy of any buying prospect, which grouped together actually do this in the most remarkable way. They tell the Buick overall superiority story, and that's the first half of the story. The second half of the story cannot be told in the showroom. You have to get out on the road to tell that story, and that's where the '58 Buick really shines. Now then, you saw how she stacked up against competition, right? After all, you drove the other cars, you know. And you saw how she compared on the test track at the proving ground. What are you going to do with that information? You know and I know that Buick's really got it for '58. Let your prospect know it. Let him feel Buick power and smooth Dynaflow as they combine to give him truly great performance at all times, especially when it counts. Let him experience Buick passing power in action. Let him feel miracle ride while you tell him about the firmness of torque tube drive, the independent springing action of coil springs. Let him know what it means to have Buick braking power. Tell him about that big 12-inch diameter brake drum on the Special. And let him feel the luxury of riding in the quietness of a Buick. The quietness of a truly fine car. Now, once you've gotten these points across to your prospect, there's one thing more to do. Ask for the order. I feel sure you'll get it.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.